So happy Mother's Day, Grandmother's Day, Aunt's Day. All of you badass women out there who have helped to create a village, because it does take a village to raise a family, aunts, uncles. We're very happy to celebrate you yesterday. I got a dozen roses from my family. I actually got flowers in the mail today from another group as well. And so we want to celebrate you. When we were thinking about content in programming, there was no other topic that could be as relevant in today's society as what we're going to present to you today. And that's because you are a powerhouse. Whether you identify as a woman, we welcome all people. We are very inclusive and honor diversity here. So he, she, they, you are welcome here. We're going to talk about the power of the women in the workplace and the myths, not the mess, the myths we have to overcome. If I have not had an opportunity to personally meet you, I'm Shelly. I know it's spelled weird, but I founded Colorado Career Connectors in March of 2021. And in 1 year, we grew to over 1,000 people. And that's because of you and the word of mouth and just the amazing community that we have. So I am an executive career coach, and along with Colorado Career Connectors, I own Best You Career Advantage, and I help women over 40 and diversity allies to unleash your career and professional edge. And what that means is most of my clients are completely burnt out, stressed, or overwhelmed, or just feel stuck and lost. And so we get your mental fitness right so that you can speak your truth, that you can fast track your job search and have less stress, more earnings. That's really my goal. I would love to connect with you. There's a QR code here. There's a free guide that's a 14-page amplifier for your career. That is what I do full time, but I also started this community, and this community has come to mean so much to us. If I haven't chatted with you one-on-one, I would love to do that. Over the past 2 years since I've had my business, I've had the honor to speak at Women Tech for the Prospanica Group and Dish Network. I was just highlighted along with Simone Ross in the Denver Post. And this week I'm speaking at Women of Silicon Valley. So as you can tell, I do a lot of speaking for women's groups. And that also includes being a career partner with Second Act Women, which is why we have Lupe Hirt in the house. Super excited to have her. And so I do a lot of work with women. So out on my media page on my website, you can hear I've done lots of podcasts, and it really focuses on getting women back to work at the full what you desire in your heart. So I just wanted to let you know a little bit about what I do, but I couldn't do any of it without my amazing team. Yvette Bell, she's right there, wave, hi Yvette. She's my director of operations. But if you need a website, a logo, graphic design, she is amazing at it. So she has her own side business of doing that, but I also got lucky enough to have her on my team. Colorado Career Connectors, again, we have our own website. It's at cocareerconnectors.com. If you haven't subscribed, I'd like to invite you to do so. We have amazing content coming up in May and June. It's talking about interviewing and being your authentic self, storytelling for interviewing. And we're having a special event on June 20th, celebrating Pride Month. And we will be having the heads of ERGs, or employee resource groups and affinity groups. We welcome everyone to our group. So please definitely plan on coming to those. Our agenda for today is to spend the next hour and a half with you to talk about how powerful women are in the workplace. And all of my panelists are going to talk for about 15 minutes about different topics. And then we're going to go into breakout rooms where you can actually speak with Lupe or Simone or Anna about their experiences. And we also have Karen Crumback, who is going to be speaking with us about, we highlight a candidate every other week. And so Karen is going to come on and be our candidate highlighted this week. So let's get started. Karen, I'm going to turn it over to you. So if you can take yourself off of, look at Lisa Carmen going, woohoo! Karen, why don't you introduce yourself to the group and tell us a little bit about you? And I invite all of you to connect with Karen. She's an amazing woman and an amazing human to get to know.
I need to talk to you every day. Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Crumback, and I am very thrilled to be a part of Second Act Women, as well as Colorado Career Connection. Oh my gosh, I so need coffee, and I'm drinking a smoothie instead. I am currently in the job market. I have 20 years of experience of executive director positions in nonprofit, in healthcare nonprofit mostly. I left my job in 2020, and my big thing has been, do I want to go off on my own, or do I want to continue in the path of working for someone? So what I've done is done some patient advocacy and senior care work in the last 2 years, which I absolutely love. So with that being said, what that means is someone has a family member that, you know, isn't able to go to the doctor with another family member. So a senior who needs someone as like a liaison for a family member that's out of town, then that would be me that goes with them and writes everything down and connects with the children and kind of makes sure that everybody's on the same loop. Or for instance, someone who has an issue with some sort of insurance claim, then I could be the liaison between the insurance company and that person. So it's been interesting with the Great Resignation for sure, as probably some of you have been part of that. And looking for a job and being over 50 has been challenging. But you know, with the phenomenal resources with Lupe and as well as Shelly, you know, it kind of keeps you motivated and going. And LinkedIn has really been an asset with me looking for a job and meeting new people and connecting. So that's kind of a little about me.
Awesome. Karen, thanks for joining us today, and let's keep going. Okay. I would like to, I'm so excited about today. Anna is one of our premier sponsors for Colorado Career Connectors. She's on our panel today, and Anna, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Great. So grateful and glad to be here. Women over 50, people, the Great Resignation are right up my alley. So what I do is offer wonderful complementary services to what Shelly and her group are doing. It's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to be a premier sponsor of this organization. I work with people, and let's try and do this a little interactively. How many people are sick and tired of corporate America? Anybody? Anybody out there? Yep. Join the club. How many people are sick and tired of making lots of money for other people? Anybody out there? Yep. I feel the same way. What I do is offer services to help people explore their options outside the traditional corporate model. Lisa, you got your hand up. Are you asking a question, or are you just saying amen? Yep, I love this group of people because they're always so enthusiastic and engaged, and I love it. And what I do is something completely different. You probably never thought of this, but I help people explore business ownership generally and franchising specifically. And there's a lot of questions and comments and fears, some of them are understandable, about franchising and what I do. So what I do is I help people explore. That's my role. There's no cost to working with me. There's no obligation to working with me. I've had the pleasure and the honor of working with many people from this organization just to explore. Since it comes up, how do I get paid? It's like a residential real estate agent. So I only care about what's best for you, my client. That's the only thing I care about. Whether you end up in a franchise, completely irrelevant. It's all about what's best for you. I have enough people for whom franchising is the right fit that I do well, and I enjoy my work, and it really allows me to focus on each person individually and finding out what's best for them. And what I do is a series of conversations, just getting to know my clients. What are you trying to achieve? What's that fire in the belly? Why is this something you're facing now? What are you hoping that franchise ownership or business ownership might help you achieve? And what are your transferable skills? A couple of quick things about franchising, a couple of myths to dispel quickly. First of all, it is not all about fast food and donuts and things like that. We have a portfolio of a couple hundred franchises, of which only 4% have anything to do with food. Only 4%. So the vast majority have nothing to do with food. They're in things like kids, seniors, business services, home improvement, home restoration, fitness, all kinds of different things. Second thing that most people think about franchising is that you have to have $1 million, $2 million cash on hand. And in reality, on our system, the vast majority of our franchises are a tenth or less of that. And funding is very, very readily available. So the franchises in our system, total first-year investment, about $75,000 to $150,000 to $200,000. No, I understand, not pocket change. Now, a lot of people have that in their back pocket saying, I'm going to, what the heck, I'll buy a franchise today. But funding is very, very readily available. I can work with all kinds of people. So love doing that and have all kinds of resources. Another thing that some people think is that a franchise is very, I call it dictatorial or dogmatic. And certainly there are some franchises that are a little bit more strict on their system guidelines, but there are plenty of franchises that allow for you to run your business the way you see fit. And one other thing I really want to stress, franchise is a proven business model. A lot of you are in career transition and you're facing one of generally three things. You can go back into corporate America, and that's great. You can go back and get education. And I'm a huge believer in education. I'm fifth generation educator. I love education, but let's face it, very expensive, very, very time consuming, and very little guarantee of return on your investment, if any. And then finally, there's franchising. And I think that franchising, another option is to start your own business. And I think that franchising really offers the sweet spot. It's a proven business model, so a lot of the risk is diminished for you. It's already been proven. Plus, there's a concept you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. So the Entrepreneur Source itself is a franchise. All of the things you see on my LinkedIn profile, you see my logo here, all of that stuff is given to me by the franchisor. So that means they do all of my marketing, my strategic planning, research and development, training, financial, legal, all of that stuff is taken care of for me so that I can focus exclusively on doing what I love to do and what I do best, and that's coaching my clients and helping them explore their options. So that's another thing. Because it's a proven business model and because the franchisor has a vested interest in my success, the chances for success are very, very good. Very, very good. Certainly compared to corporate America. I don't know about you, but I spent 20 years in corporate America, and I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten laid off. And I'm sure all of you have had that too. And I dare say, a lot of the times it was a complete shock to you. You woke up one morning, thought you had a job, went in that, and half an hour or an hour, 5 hours later, you didn't have a job anymore. So I know your pain. I've been there and done that. And so my LinkedIn profile is there. Please, and I've put it into the chat. Please go onto my LinkedIn profile, check it out. And if you would, pay special attention to the recommendations. I am so, so proud of my recommendations. I've got, I think it's about 20, 21, something like that. Half of those people will never buy a franchise with me, never. And that's great. They still took some time to say nice things about me. If you ever need to pick me up, always go to your LinkedIn recommendations if you have them, because they certainly are great on those days when you're just like, I hate the world. And we know, I'm sure we've all had those. So that's me. I am so honored and pleased to be a sponsor of Colorado Career Connectors. I met Shelly on another presentation and I said, this is the woman I want to know. This is the woman I want to connect with. And so I called her up. I'm actually based in California, but I go to Colorado about 4 or 5 times a year. I'm from Boulder, and so I go out there. And I called up Shelly and said, I'm going to come out and we're going to talk. And I don't know where this is going to go, but we'll see. And we had a great conversation with Yvette there too. And so that's my so thrilled to be part of this. Please reach out. If I have a background in recruiting, it's been a while, but and in job search coaching. So if I can help in any way, just go to my LinkedIn profile, let's connect. And then I can give you my online calendar if you want to just get on and have some questions. And with that, I am so thrilled to be here and thank you for the opportunity.
Anna, thank you. One of our next speakers, many of you may know, her name is Simone Ross. Simone is the CEO of the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce. And I got to know Simone when we were both speaking at Women Tech. And then I asked her to speak last year on diversity, equity, and inclusion. It was one of the most impactful presentations that we had, fighting against systemic racism. And so when I saw that the Women's Chamber was doing an entire paper on the She-cession, you might have seen in the Denver Post an article by Judith Kohler, where both Simone and I were quoted about this topic. So Simone is going to be speaking us today about lots of things that report found. And so Simone, we're thrilled to have you. I'll turn it over to you in just a moment. We also have Guadalupe Hirt. Lupe is the co-founder of Second Act Women. A lot of us that are over 40 have joined this group. If you don't know about Second Act Women, you need to. It's been in the Facebook accelerator. They just got $80,000 from Meta or Facebook because of the community that they are developing. And Lupe has also been part of Colorado Career Connectors, talking about the myths that women have to overcome. So I'm thrilled to have each of you. Now, as we get into this topic, I want to show all of you some facts. When COVID started and the pandemic became a reality, there was 14.7% unemployment in Colorado. That had been unprecedented. And a lot of that were women who were losing their jobs on the front line, or women who were expected to do homeschooling and cooking and baking and cleaning, and our own anxiety levels shot up. In fact, 63% of all jobs lost between COVID and January were held by women. 25% of us have considered leaving or downsizing their careers. So there's truly been a shift in the workforce, which is why we want to concentrate on the power that women have today. And 29% of all full-time and working mothers are earning less than working fathers. And this is why in Colorado, we implemented the Colorado equity policy. There's 2.2 million less women in the labor force than there were at the beginning of 2020. And of all of that, look at the impact for Latinos, Black, and disability. 3.6 of all women are still jobless. And this comes from the She-cession that Simone and Tara wrote. This comes from McKinsey, it comes from Fast Company and the Times, and lots of studies that I've done dealing with the society, or working with the Society of Human Resource Management. Now, within all these statistics, women are reporting much higher rates of burnout. How many of you on the phone can raise your hand and honestly say that you have been burnt out over the past 2 years? 1, 2. Hi, Barbara. Awesome to have you here. Cheryl, thank you. Jolene, a lot. And there's those of you who aren't on camera that I'm sure would state that as well. 63% of women cite that they are undervalued or underpaid, that there are no advancement opportunities, and that they feel disrespected at work. If you can relate to that, you are in the right location. And this is exactly what my business does. And this is why I've asked Anna and Lupe and Simone to talk with you today, because we know what that feels like, but we have remedies to help you to get out of that. So Simone, I'd love to turn it over to you as our first speaker. and talk about the She-cession and the power of women in the workplace.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me, Shelley. You do such incredible work, and it's always amazing to be in this community. I need some power so I can share my screen, because I just have a couple of slides that really dovetail nicely off of the incredible research and work that Shelley just shared with you all.
Simone, are you able to share?
Let me see. Do I have power? I've got the power. I've got the power.
All right, let's go, Cheryl. I love it, Lisa. Go, Barbara.
Oh my, see, this is why I love, this is why I do what I do, because we can do this as women, right? Like in the boardroom, in a meeting, we can always be ourselves. So Shelley did an amazing job of saying who I am. Great facts that Shelley shared, right? With 25% of women considering leaving or downshifting their careers. I am really big on also breaking down these data points from an intersectional lens, right? And I think we have to if we expect to see true change in the workforce. And so although 25% of women are considering leaving or downshifting their careers, it's notable that 50% of BIPOC women, of women of color, are considering leaving their jobs in the next 2 years. So I know if you just kind of sit with that little data point, it kind of gets, imagine how that is going to devastate the workforce if we don't find solutions and do something better. There's 2.2 million fewer women in the labor force. And this data point is just as of the end of 2021. There was something new that came out from the Department of Labor, and that number is increasing. And I think they're still even trying to wrap their heads around it. But nonetheless, we still have a tremendous of work to do. And then women have a 3 to 4 times higher rate of leaving the workforce than men. Women, especially women of color, are promoted at rates far fewer than men at every level of leadership in corporations. There's a statistic set that says for every 100 men that is promoted, 86 women are promoted to levels of leadership in corporations. And again, if we break it down by the intersectional identities of women, when you think about ethnicity, when you think about age, when you think about ability, I'm sure those numbers are even more abysmal. So I think we've done a great job of stating the problem, right? And it is a big problem that that we've got to find solutions for. I've picked out a few solutions. There is, hopefully this link is floating around in the chat. We, being CWCC and Taraco, worked with Metro State College of Denver to commission a report about the Great Resignation or the Great Reset. And so I'm hoping we can get this in your hands and you can noodle over it and even think about or debate or interrogate some of the solutions that are presented in this. And a lot of them have come from executive roundtables that we've done with women across the state and other research over the years when it comes to women's patterns in the workforce. So there's a few areas that we've kind of broken out that really need a hard solve. Okay. So the first solution to some of these problems is creating DEI badges. This has been done in Arizona. Arizona State University is actually developing a power index. And essentially what this power index would do is rate companies, right? Like, you know, when you go to a restaurant in New York or California and you only eat at the restaurants that are rated with an A because you have that level of transparency. This essentially would be doing the same thing, but how companies wait for DEI, how they rate for DEI, right? So it's saying, okay, the Colorado Women's Chamber as a company, these are the things that are taking into account of how they are operationalizing equity, their rates for promotion, the board mix of the people that run the company, executive leadership, taking key components and saying this corporation gets an A through F rating for a DEI badge, which really does impact your ability to know what you're walking into, or even for them to recruit. Another huge piece when we look at solutions, and I love that we're talking about franchising or entrepreneurship, is financing and lending. 2% of venture funds go to women-only businesses. And Black women-owned businesses, especially when you look at venture funds, they're at 0.01%. of getting venture capital for their business. That statistic is completely unacceptable. Then the other piece that we know is that lending is far more predatory for women. And then when you dig into that intersectionality for women of color, especially Black women, lending is far more predatory, or else they're just not getting loans. And so when we look at finances and lending, certainly it's recommended that businesses and women-owned business owners just ask for what they want. It's interesting to understand that 80% of investors are male. So, right, this is two-sided. This came from our report, right? So it's like, we need to have some support and some coaching for women to be able to really give their pitch to the male brain. But we also need women to invest in other women businesses. And then too, rejection just hits us kind of hard. And so there's some other ways that we can support one another in securing funding, whether they're microloans or bank loans. It's certainly education, creating a relationship with banks, creating a relationship with like the SBA, DEDO, especially if you're in Denver, the Department of Economic Development and Opportunity here, so that you can get those relationships, so that you can begin to understand what makes me bankable. Is it a CDFI loan? Is it a grant? Is it an SBA-backed loan? How can I get this funding? Shameless plug, obviously, CWCC is a place for you to go to be able to get those much needed relationships. We do a lot with funders. We work a lot with the SBA and DEDO. And then too, I always like to tell our friends in venture capital, or really anywhere, even if it's an angel investor, women-owned businesses, BIPOC women-owned businesses are an amazing investment. This is a fact. When you invest in a woman-owned business, you get 12 cents more on the dollar. We are a resilient investment. The other solution to the She-cession that we dug out a little bit more was salary and benefits. It's interesting when you look at pay equity holistically, right? What we've found in studying the salary rates is that positions that are typically more held by women, those jobs have less, right? So as opposed to a CFO, the VP of HR, the Chief Human Resource Officer, those salaries aren't at parity. And one can only think that that's because these are fields that women typically go into. So a huge piece of this is ensuring, and actually removing that must have 3 to 5 years, based on this particular education level. They're completely removing that to help to level the playing field. Other people were researching the viability of flexible work hours, autonomy, fewer team meeting requirements. Oh, you all, I served about 15 years time in corporate America. And we could talk about that during a later discussion. And it's so true, is just really kind of having those things that are just so ingrained in us that aren't necessary for us to effectively do our jobs. And then offering pay structures as a menu offer, based on flexibility or hours or things like that. Certainly childcare, when we look at solutions to the She-cession, this is an ongoing discussion that I hope we can really wrap our minds around and create some viable solutions and supports around over the next 10 years. Some of the solutions are to have daycare paid for, subsidized by larger companies, having state-funded childcare provisions and tax policies that support both partners working. Because right now, you have the FSA, but y'all, I have 2 kiddos, and that was a whole mortgage. I could have had a beautiful mountain oasis for what I paid in daycare, and just combined, I got, I think, maybe $2,500 tax credit. Having the company negotiate childcare expenses just because they have more power to leverage, providing on-site childcare, and then a more generous, flexible spending account so that childcare can be paid for pre-tax. Childcare is an ongoing conversation. Certainly at the chamber, we are looking for ways to be able to advocate for childcare in the state. And there are some interesting things that have been coming out through the infrastructure bill, and some more to come on childcare. Certainly health. And here's some ideas that we came up with, right? Offering leave for menopause and endometriosis. This is an interesting fact that we dug into. Approximately 900,000 women left their jobs due to menopause symptoms. fitness programs at reduced rates, just to get some of that mindfulness time, get some of that work-life balance time. Providing breastfeeding support, right? I worked for a large healthcare company when I had my first child, and I had to lactate in the ADA stall. I mean, how horrific. We don't eat our lunch in an ADA stall. Don't make women lactate in a restroom. And then providing break time for breastfeeding provisions, and really being supportive of that. And then making mental health services a part of the benefits package, and expanding telehealth offerings. And then the biggest piece is societal change. Like I said, this report that we've commissioned is about 60 pages, and I wish I had the full time to go through all of the solutions. I kind of plucked out the biggies. And this one I really plucked out because this is what we truly believe at the Women's Chamber, and also what that article that Shelley and I were fortunate enough to share in, is that this is what it's going to require, is workplace and societal change. It's about providing a safe space for employees to communicate that they're not coming. I remember being just horrified when my kid had torrential ear infections. I'm like, oh God, again, oh gosh. Eesh. Having a feedback loop for employees to say what they need in a safe space. Changing our expectations of men, right? Changing the expectation that women are the primary caregiver in the household and the people that take care of the household, and a paradigm shift. So I want to give you a window, and this is just seriously Cliff Notes version. This is information that we share with our member companies and throughout. It's about a 2-hour session on creating a new business architecture. So the business architecture that we are currently working in is very much an industrial business architecture. If you think about what was happening during the Industrial Revolution, this was all about America growing and beating out Britain. We did. Here's the other piece to it, though. America's largest industries, America's largest corporations, really, they were built during the Industrial Revolution, which created this industrial business architecture. The whole piece that industrial business architecture is rooted in, when you look at the management theory that Adam Smith put forth about how do we get people to work more, produce more, how do we get more goods and products to invest, was centered around 3 core pieces, which are divide, compete, and exploit. Really, there hasn't been much that has changed if you look at these values, when you look at large corporations and how we set these large corporations up. Arguably, and I'm totally willing to debate this, I think that this is why 2.2 million people have left the workforce. I think this is why 25% of women have left the workforce. I think this is why 50% of BIPOC women have left the workforce, because these don't work for us. We have far evolved past an industrial mindset. And really, where we are as people, and industry has got to quickly catch up to us, is we are demanding an inclusive business architecture that gets rid of those values of divide, compete, and exploit, and really focuses on belonging, collaboration, and relationships. And so as we continue to work as a chamber, whether it's from a policy and advocacy perspective, whether it's programmatic, whether it's how we're advising and working with some of the CEOs of our larger member companies, it's really centered around challenging them to create an inclusive business architecture where women and people of color can thrive, where they can be promoted, where we're fixing the broken rung, and where we can really enact all of the solutions that are written in our solutions to the She-cession white paper. All right, this was a quick and dirty. I would love to maybe circle back with you all and share a little bit more about this wild challenge of creating a new business architecture. This is how you find us. At the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce. I think my email might be in the chat. We will also get you a copy of the solutions to the She-cession white paper. I wasn't timing myself, so if you got to sandman me and get me out of here, feel free to do that. But if there's time for questions, I like to talk to people too.
We're not going to sandman you. This is why we have you here, Simone. There are synergies that we as women can do together. And I love what Lisa wrote, that together we have to do this. And we're not part of that industrial revolution anymore. We want that to shift and to change. So thank you for all of the work that you're doing. Lupe, I'd love to tee you up to talk about some of the myths, and then we'll have Anna, and then we're going to do Q&A for all of this and really talk together. And you will have the opportunity to talk with Simone in a breakout room as well. Simone, thank you. That is, if you have not had a chance in our audience, I really recommend that you look at the 90 suggestions that Tara and the CWCC made in order to make micro pivots and large transformations with how we come at this together, because the power of women in the workplace, think about that. 50% of BIPOC women, that is just unacceptable. And so we have to make sure that we're doing everything possible to change that. Lupe.
Yes. Oh, I love that. What did you say? Micro pivots for bigger changes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it all starts somewhere, right? So we have to kind of, know that each woman can create changes is an amazing empowerment phase that we all need to step into and know that we can individually and collectively create change. So
exactly.
All right. Well, my presentation definitely jumps on the heels of what Ms. Simone and what you have been talking about, Shelly. So let me just bring it up real quick here. Okay. Oh, present. Wrong one. All right. Y'all can see my screen? Yes, fantastic. Okay, well, let's dive in. So we're gonna highlight 5 ageist myths about career women, and we're gonna debunk them because we all know that myths are not real in the idea, especially when it relates to us as women over 40 and 50 in the career space. So what you're gonna walk away with today, so we're gonna highlight some gendered ageism realities. We're going to talk about the 5 myths that are out there about us, about what people are thinking about us. And we're going to give you some new perspectives and talk to you about how age truly is your superpower. But first, a little about me. I'm going to just kind of skip over this a little bit here because Shelly did a great job also of introducing me. But I am the second half of Second Act Women. My amazing work wife, Barbara Brooks, who's on this call too, I'm going to give her a little shout out, is also, my work wife and duo in crime, honestly. And I am 48 years young, and you're going to know why we kind of call out our name, our age is because we strongly believe that you should own your age and proudly step into the idea that, with every age comes new experiences, new opportunities. And so we're always welcoming women to kind of share their age with us and be proud of it. My background is in public relations. I'm a 4-time entrepreneur, 2 of which businesses I did start with my work wife. Prior to starting Second Act Women, I was a producer and an author on a short subject documentary about culture and identity. And for any of those joining us from the Bay Area, I graduated from Santa Clara University, and I'm a married mom of 2. So I too celebrated Mother's Day yesterday. And so I'm glad to be here with you today. So Second Act Women, let's dive into. So I'd love to see, first of all, that some of you are already with our organization and some familiar faces, but if you haven't heard about us, here's just a little snippet about what Second Act Women is. So we are, at its very core, a membership community for women over 40 and 50 to gather, grow, and also access, though, the education, the events, and the community needed to advance their professional, personal, and financial standing. We started this organization back in 2018 because my work wife and I found ourselves, she was trying to get into corporate America. I was trying, or return to corporate America. I was trying to get into corporate America, and we found ourselves really on the periphery. We thought that with years of experience, that, our proven track record, our accomplishments, it would be a no-brainer. Companies would be happy to have us. But instead, we got the Dear Jan letters. We got the too much experience. We got the not a culture fit. You name it, we got it. And what we started to realize was that we weren't the only ones. There was actually many women in our shoes experiencing the same thing. And so instead of sitting on the sidelines, we decided to do something about it, and Second Act Women kind of came to be. What's kind of cool now is that we are now about 10,000 women strong and growing. We'd love to have those that are currently not in our community join us. You can, we'll have some information for you to kind of follow us here at the end, but it's a really kind of a really great support system for women in their middle-adolescent stage. Because honestly, ladies, at 40 and 50 plus, this is just another life stage, just like adolescence, there's a lot of growth, a lot of learning, a lot of potential. So you don't have to know it all. There's always new challenges, and they're best navigated when you're in good company. So for those of you who may not know, here's kind of a truth bomb that kind of really goes into what Simone's report found, is that gendered ageism is now the new sexism. And so maybe you haven't heard of the term, but I'm sure you've heard of sexism, and you've probably heard of ageism. Well, gendered ageism is basically the intersection of those two where they collide. And it's an unfortunate reality about that many women in our shoes are currently facing. As you can see the statistics on the screen, it's disheartening to see some of the challenges that we're being faced with. The fact that 64% experienced ageism at work, and these are all in relation to women. The fact that only 8% of companies with D&I initiatives include age. And the fact that in our community, when COVID happened, a lot of women decided to go gray. And when companies started to invite people to come back, we had a real legit gray hair debate. Do I like freaking dye my hair because now I'm going back into the office and will people judge me, not recognize me because now my hair is gray? Like, these things are actual real issues that women are facing, both, individually, but also as a community. And we need to change that, because this is really holding women of a certain age back. So we're going to dive into some myths today about what they are telling themselves about us, and, about seasoned workers. Here's kind of our short list. There are many myths out there, obviously, about women over 40 and 50, but here's kind of some that we decided to hone in on and really kind of debunk for you, because as I said earlier, myths are inherited beliefs. They're not real about who we are, but you got to believe it first in order to make it believable to someone else. So the first is that we're going to cost the business more. Oh, you're getting old, so your odds are you're probably going to, need healthcare more. You're going to want you're going to want more time away from the company. You're not going to be as agile as perhaps our younger counterparts, and so in essence, you're going to cost the business more. And also, you probably are not going to stick around for too long, because you've got retirement on age, which is number 4 down at the bottom. You lack tech savviness. Sorry, but you probably are not up to date on kind of what the latest and greatest technologies are, and you're probably not willing to learn. You're probably very, rigid on kind of, the types of technologies you use right now, and you don't want to step in and learn something new. You're less productive. You got your mind on what you're going to be doing with your, perhaps maybe with your friends later today, or, where you're going to be traveling to, or what your other priorities in life might be. And you're not going to be focused on the job. You're basically just trying to kind of close the last gap of your career and then check out, which leads me to the retirement. When are you moving to Florida? Like, what's on your plans for retirement? Because we know that at 62, that might be looming for some of us, and some of us are probably wanting to start to kind of create our exit plan. So am I really going to want to invest in someone that's already got one leg out the door? And lastly, you're not a culture fit. At 40 and 50, odds are you're probably kind of sort of past your prime, and you're probably not in the loop of what's kind of going on in the corporate America. You're probably not as connected as some of our younger counterparts. And so really, will you add any value? Okay, can anyone read through my sarcasm right now and feel the sarcasm just oozing out from me? Right, thank you, Shelley. Exactly. Such BS. I'm going to call it out right now. Because you know why? It all comes down to perspective and how you see yourself. And at Second Act Women, we believe that the way that you see yourself is the way that people will kind of continue to see you. And yes, we cannot in one fair swoop change aging or change the way that people see us, but you can own how you see yourself. And you can show up as the best version of yourself. And that all starts with kind of pushing back on those inherited beliefs and starting to recognize what are my inherent beliefs about me as a woman, about me as a woman at 40, 50 plus, about me as a woman of color or whatever it might be. And then owning that in your job search. So we're going to tackle these myths on a one-by-one basis here. So here, let's dive in. All right. The fact that we are going to cost the business more. No, we're not. Actually, in fact, recruitment is the highest cost to a company. And so the fact that we are now in a life stage that allows us to stay on the job longer, and now we have the fact that we've got lessened responsibilities at home, actually creates opportunity for a lower turnover rate, which would save a company thousands of dollars in their recruitment phase. Now I'm going to drop some statistics here that I found on the US Labor Statistics just to kind of paint this picture and solidify it for you. So according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, among jobs held by workers ages 25 to 34, the median tenure was 2.8 years. 35 to 44, that shot up to 4.9 years. 45 to 54, it shot up to 7.6 years. 55 to 64, that shot up to 10.1 years, meaning that we are staying on the job longer as long as we are being treated well. The fact that we are loyal by design is something that companies should definitely respect and honor and value. So keep that in mind, ladies, when you are looking at ways to sell yourself into an organization. Age is actually a superpower. Multi-generational competitive business advantage. The fact that we now have a wide array of opportunity for us to connect and bring the talents, legacy knowledge, the experiences that we've learned on the job, and be able to share that with our younger counterparts or even with our older counterparts, and be able to create a more representative group of employees of what mirrors society right now, and be able to then serve our companies that way is only a valuable asset for organizations. But you have to be able to sell, you have to be able to understand how that works, and to say, hey, if you can think differently and collaborate and create intergenerational bridges versus creating silos within organizations, imagine the value that that company could get from their team. And the fact that network size matters. At the end of the day, ladies, we have been at it. We have perfected it. Our network size is large enough for us to be able to say, not only can we bring value as an individual, but the people that we're connected to. Like Shelly called on Simone and called me and called Anna to kind of come into this. And in a whim, we're like, yeah, no problem. Why? Because we've built those connections. Those connections can take many forms for an organization, whether that's maybe perhaps bringing in a speaker for their next conference. Maybe it's opening doors for a sales pitch that they wanted to, that they haven't been able to kind of crack. Whatever it might be, the idea is that you have a wealth of contacts that you've acquired over decades of experience on the job. Ladies, put those to work for yourself and for your organization. Myth 1, debunked. Myth 2, you lack tech savviness. Well, actually, no, you don't. A 2020 AARP study found that Americans over 51 are equally as enthusiastic about learning new technologies than their younger counterparts. In fact, the study went on to find, truth bomb, right? The study went on to find that actually we even have better operation usage of multiple devices compared to our younger counterparts. We do not get kind of frazzled by using a whole bunch of different technologies because of the fact that we've grown up from in a phase where we actually were some of the founders of technology. And I'm going to give a prop here to my work life because it's the analog native advantage. I mean, y'all have heard of the digital native, right? I mean, that's like the millennial who is like super tech savvy now, et cetera. Well, ladies, check this out. The analog native advantage is something that you have in your back pocket. I mean, talk about it. I didn't learn the internet until I was like in college. We learned the Walkman, the portable Walkman, right? You had the DVR or the VCR, right? You had floppy disks and, you know, those big candy bar, you know, telephones. And now we have evolved into a time and place where we're now actually bridging technologies together and building upon the, you know, the basic kind of like you know, technologies that we learned in the past and the new technologies that are evolving. So we ourselves are adapting. We can, and we have a whole bunch of technology background in our back pocket, but it's a matter of how you see it and how you kind of sell it as well too, which leads me to my third point about everything is figure outable. Props to Marie Forleo, who says, you know what, if you don't have technology savvy, or if you don't feel comfortable about something, go online. Everything is available for us on resources. And in fact, it was interesting, YouTube's second highest percentage of users is those between the ages of 36 and 45 with 73%. That means we're only 3% behind their number one usage group, which is the 26 to 35-year-old. So anyone that tells you you're not tech savvy, I would say BS. Perhaps maybe it's not your favorite thing to use, and that's okay, but that's two different ways to look at it. So don't let them tell you that you don't bring any tech knowledge to your organization. Number 2, debunked. All right, on to number 3. You're going to be less productive. Again, not true. And actually, we now have research that backs up the fact that when we are younger, we tend to really kind of rely on our short-term memory, which is really kind of reliant on one brain hemisphere being activated at one given time. And that's why when we age, obviously there's going to be some deterioration with our brain capacity. But what we're finding is through this research that human brain mapping did, is that they're finding that as we age, we start to rely on kind of past knowledge, which is stored in one part of our brain, and we actually enact or what they call, we start to use bilateral communication functionality in our brains, which allows us to activate both sides of our brain. So now not only are we not just recalling what we've learned in the past, but we're activating and exploring new ways of our brain to be able to remain competitive, to compensate for perhaps maybe those aging challenges that are coming with, you know, perhaps maybe some depreciated mental capacity or functionality. Our brain is evolving, so it doesn't all of a sudden just stop learning, right? And I know, like, for example, my work wife is a hardcore like consumer of new knowledge, and she's always learning stuff new. I mean, we're now in a phase where everything is like at your fingertips, and so with the time that we now have available, more and more women are finding themselves out there learning new things, and so which is expanding our ability to process and contribute to our workspaces. On-the-job learning and real-life learning go hand in hand. And to Simone's comment a little earlier about too, I mean, we've been at this for a while. Odds are you've worked for about every type of boss possible. You've probably been in multiple situations that you've probably had to, you know, troubleshoot. You've probably had to learn how to most effectively and diplomatically problem solve challenges. Those are not like all of a sudden learned textbook experiences. Those are things that women learn on the job. And those are all valuable because what that allows you to do is take and again, access those past experiences and apply them in new ways to current experiences that maybe perhaps younger counterparts haven't crossed that bridge yet on, right? So again, going back to that legacy knowledge and application of experience, this is where your value really shines. And of course, there's real life learning, the University of Life. We all go through it, and decades of life will give us the opportunities to learn new perspectives, whether that's in our family, whether that's how we interact with friends, or whether that's how we show up on the job. We learn and we apply and we adapt the best skills that we learn both professionally and the University of Life to create opportunities and new ways of looking and engaging with our fellow employees or leading our teams, for example. So you're not less productive, sister, is what I'm saying. Number 4. Okay, so you must be ready to retire, right? Like I'm 48. I've only got, what is that? A couple years left in me before I decide where place in Florida I'm going to go to. Now I'm going to invest in a place in Florida. I'm not necessarily going to be retiring to Florida, right? Why is that? Well, at the end of the day, it's because we're living longer, healthier lives. Women are now expected to live up to 81, and that age continues to grow every year. Why? Because we're taking better care of ourselves. Advancements in medicine and our own commitment to wanting to live better, healthier lives are allowing us to be more aware, more engaged. And many of our women in our community are actually showing up saying, hey, what do I want to do now when I grow up in my second, adolescent stage? So it's not all of a sudden that ladies, you hit a certain age and you're like checked out. I'm like ready to like collect, my whatever retirement benefit. No, it's an opportunity for you now to own what you want to do. And so I think this is a really awesome opportunity for us because you bring a renewed sense of perspective, vigor, and I think also just energy to a workplace that could see that potential in you. And that goes perfectly into the fact that our career plans span beyond age 62. I mean, if you were to talk to some of Lisa Carman, who's on this one, has been just a great contributor, as well as Shelly in our career camps. And ladies, we're seeing women that are just out there doing their thing at, 50s, 60s, plus, and really redesigning and reinventing themselves, whether that's cementing roots in a current opportunity or current job track, or it's changing careers altogether. Career transition is something we have been seeing a huge amount of women do in our community. And Shelly, I saw you just come off mic. right? Am
I
I?
have to tell you a story. So
Okay.
I work with a lot of women like 55 plus. One of them just got 2 offers. She's 63, just got 2 offers at $30,000 more pay because she's following what we're talking about, right? We are meant to live bigger. And I just
Amen.
love your message. And so I've worked with a ton of people from Second Act Women. This is why I'm so excited about this topic, because we are so powerful. And going to fitness, I'm a Zumba instructor, as you know.
Oh, I've seen you out there shaking your thing.
So I'm sorry, I just had to kind of give you a
No,
for that.
but that's totally true, right? That it just is, it's truth. And I think sometimes we get so in our heads about it, right? And we believe what people are telling us about us, and we get discouraged because we're not getting the callbacks, and we just feel like we're getting dumped on. And yeah, I'm not going to argue with you and say that doesn't feel shitty, because it does. But at the end of the day, if you can just take a minute and like remove yourself from that mental state and reset, you would be surprised at what a powerhouse you are. And hopefully these, slides that we've been going through in this conversation will give you new perspectives to hopefully rely on and build on, and recognize and step into your own truth about you being a freaking, I'm going to just say it, badass woman. So, all right. If you're not wanting to stay in corporate America, another segment that we have been seeing definitely growing in our community is the Great Resignation. Women that said, you know what, I am done with corporate America. I'm going to do me, and I'm going to start up my organization. Right, Shelley? Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I know, like, even, for example, Barb, my work wife, went from corporate America and all of a sudden decided to become an entrepreneur and is now leading this amazing Second Act Women community with me. And so the idea being is that it's not about trying to fit in somewhere. It's about finding your place, whether that is in corporate America or whether that's starting your organization. The idea that you are fulfilling your own destiny, your own wants, your own needs about what you can do. And you're putting it into a situation, whether that's with leadership in corporate America that recognizes your value, or whether that's you going out and starting your own company. That's like your time to shine. And just in case you're thinking, because I know some of you may be, oh, I can't start a business at 40 or 50 or 60. We're here to tell you that yes, you can. MIT actually did a study a few years back and found that 45 is the sweet spot for the most successful entrepreneurs out there. So girl, if you're thinking that age is on your bad side, let me tell you, it's actually going to give you that leg up, because you're building on that legacy knowledge again and that experience, and taking it and apply it in a setting that now is going to excel your career forward. And the last one, this one cracks me up because I got this one from a company that I'm going to leave unnamed, but you're not a culture fit. I'm sorry. At 40 and 50 plus, you're not going to fit in with a whatever demographic they may have going. And yes, we realize that there is younger hiring trends out there going on, but I still am pretty vibrant as I was when I was 20, 30, 40, and I'm going to continue to be that way for the rest of my life. I don't think I'm going to change. I think that comes down to just personality. And let me remind you, there are currently right now the opportunity for 5 generations. You heard me right. 5 generations to be in the workplace at the same time. So companies that are deciding that I'm only going to hire young, or I'm only going to hire this particular age group, or whatever it might be, is missing the boat completely. And this is your opportunity to educate those that have not seen this epiphany yet, to recognize the potential for what they can do if they actually take the time to build inclusive workspaces versus creating opportunities to only enlist the help of one generation, for example. And because you are, I'm going to remind you again that you are a dynamic woman with varied interests. You do not just all of a sudden settle for whatever it is that they are wanting to give you. No, ladies, you got, we, in our community, we have women that are in corporate America, have one side hustle, and then have a company, another side company. And we've got women that are freelancing. We've got stay-at-home moms that decided to start a blog that now are considered micro influencers. Like, I think, I get so excited because I think right now is just such a beautiful opportunity for us to really step in, take advantage of the world that's now evolving around us to create your space. whether that is, again, working from home, whether that's, you know, starting your side business and then migrating from corporate America once you've settled in cemented your roots in your startup, whatever it might be. The idea is that don't wait for tomorrow what you can do today. And for the drum roll, please, we've got soft skills as a workplace equalizer. Ladies, for those that are 40, 50, 35, mid 35 and on up, you are a generation rock star. The fact that right now there is a growing soft skills divide between our generations is huge. And for those of you that may not know what soft skills are, it's basically those personal attributes that enable someone to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people. So in essence, this comes part of our DNA, some of the things that we learned it. And I've got here on this next slide, some of the top 14, according to Indeed, soft skills that y'all need to be hanging your hats on, because we know that you've got these in your back pocket, and these need to be peppered into your resumes. They need to be talked about. You need to find examples that show how you meet these particular soft skills, because hard skills can be learned by anyone at any age. Soft skills is a different game, and that's where you shine. And in our conversation, when we last presented with Shelley, we even identified some top shelf skills because of the recent turn of events in our current kind of world: grit, resilience, and inclusivity. How do you play on those, ladies? What do you do in your, current position or in the roles that you want to step into that you can highlight these? Because let me tell you, companies are paying top dollar for these types of skills, and you just got to figure out how to identify them and showcase them properly. And with that said, ladies, I'm going to remind you one last time, you are a freaking rock star. Don't forget it. Step into your own power, recognize your amazingness. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, including yourself. And with that said, thank you so much to Shelley for having, and to Anna for sponsoring today. If you want to get in touch with us, you can check us out on Facebook. We've got an amazing group of women that are always there to connect and support you. secondactwomen.com. You can get more information about us and connect with me on LinkedIn. And also, I'm going to have my work wife drop her information here on the chat too, so you can connect with both of us. But thank you so much for joining me today.
Do you see why I love my job? I get to have 24 events a year with speakers like Simone and Lupe. Not only that, but I get to work with people like Anna. Anna, the floor is yours. I can't wait to hear how you actually see all these things working. And when people are talking to you, what advice would you have for the women in the workplace and the power that we have?
I am just so impressed and so empowered by the conversation today. And I see so many parallels between what people are doing in the corporate America, but also in the entrepreneurship and franchising arena. And there are just some fantastic things to remember. And I'm going to go back and capture a lot of them from the chat, and look forward to looking at this recording later on, because I think it's just so powerful. What is interesting, and one of the reasons why I work with a lot of women, is the concept that those skills that we bring to the table are not valued. They're not appreciated at all, which is sad. And certainly the age, the ageism, and I love embracing. I'm going to put that in there. I'm 53 and proud and love it. And it's fascinating to me what's going on with women in the marketplace. A lot of women too are becoming that sandwich generation. We're taking care of younger kids and we're taking care of our parents. I never thought I'd be there, but let me tell you, I'm right there. Or we just need that flexibility that corporate America is not willing to give us. And that's where, now again, I come from the perspective of entrepreneurship and franchise ownership, but that's what I see a lot of women doing, is coming to owning their own business because they want that flexibility. They want that ability to say their own, to make their own schedule. They want their ability to own their time. They want that ability to balance work life. I mean, it's a cliche, but it's so valuable and so important. For example, one of the reasons when I was looking for franchises, and I looked at a bunch of different franchises, and the reason I chose the Entrepreneur Source as the franchise that I was going to buy was because I needed that work-life balance. My son was 9 at the time, and I wanted to go on field trips with him. I wanted to be able to pick him up from school. And I wasn't getting that in corporate America. I was getting, you need to be here from, not even 9 to 5. Let's talk, forget that. That's outdated. You need to be here from 8 to 6 or 8 to 7, and your time is ours. And so I'm seeing increasingly women are coming to me and saying, I really need to have that extra time. I want to control my own destiny. The other thing I'm realizing too, is looking at women, is that we're not allowed to control our own destiny. We're not in corporate America for so many companies. Now, there's great companies out there. Please understand me. I've seen fantastic companies that really value, and I love what Simone was saying about AU or University of Arizona is coming up with that. I forget the exact title she used, and I think that's wonderful. We really need to value that. But one of the things that's nice about owning your own business is you get to set the direction, and you get to set where you're going to go. The 3 biggest complaints that I hear, and I mentioned this when I first started talking, was how I'm sick of people. I'm sick of death by politics. I'm sick of working for jerks. I know I can agree to see that. I am sick of making a lot of money for other people. I had a client say to me once, I am so sick and tired of flying in coach while my bosses are flying in personal jets. And I think that makes so much sense. And I see a lot of that going on. So what I like about what I do is I'm exploring different options, and I especially love working with women because I can completely understand and appreciate where you're coming from. And all of those skills that are overlooked in corporate America are valued by a franchise, valued by the companies the franchises that I work with. They want people who bring those leadership, those soft skills. They can teach you the specifics about the business. You don't need to know how to do any of the business. They'll teach you that, but they can't teach you those transferable skills that you all bring to the table. And I think with that, my time is up. I want to honor our time to go to breakout rooms. I would welcome the opportunity to speak with anybody, but we've got some great speakers. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. I'm so inspired and so grateful to have been part of this panel. So thank you very much.